In American politics, few topics generate as much tension and public demand for transparency as the Epstein files. For years, voters across the political spectrum have asked the same question: who knew what and when? Now, a new layer has been added to that controversy, and it's coming from inside the Republican Party itself. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of former President Donald Trump's most vocal and consistent allies, has publicly described what she characterizes as intense behind-the-scenes pressure to stop a congressional effort aimed at forcing the release of Epstein-related documents. According to Greene, only 4 Republican lawmakers signed a discharge petition designed to bring the matter to the House floor. That procedural move is significant. A discharge petition is typically used when leadership does not want to vote on a particular issue. It effectively bypasses party leadership if enough members sign on. Greene says the 4 Republicans who supported the effort were Thomas Massie, Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, and herself. What makes her account particularly striking is not just that she supported the petition, but that she claims she was pressured to withdraw her support. In interviews, Greene described months of internal tension leading up to the petition's public attention. She alleges that members of the White House and House leadership urged her not to move forward. The message, she suggests, was consistent: do not force this issue. Her reasoning for refusing, as she explains it, was rooted in transparency. She argues that if the Epstein files contain information that clears certain individuals, then public release would benefit them. If wrongdoing exists, then exposure serves justice. The situation escalated, according to Greene, when she received a phone call from Donald Trump himself. She described the conversation as heated. In her telling, Trump was upset about her signing on to the petition and her broader support for the release of the files. Greene recounts that during this call, Trump warned her that releasing the documents could hurt people close to him. She quoted him as saying, "My friends will get hurt." That phrase has quickly become the focal point of media coverage. Supporters of Greene interpret this as evidence of internal concern about the contents of the files. Trump supporters, on the other hand, argue that private conversations can be misunderstood or taken out of context. They maintain that Trump has consistently denied wrongdoing in relation to Epstein and has previously stated that he cooperated with investigators. In fact, public records indicate that Trump distanced himself from Epstein years before Epstein's legal troubles reached their peak. Trump has also described the broader narrative surrounding Epstein as politically motivated. Still, Greene's claims introduce a political complication. She has been widely regarded as part of Trump's inner political orbit. Her brand has often aligned closely with his messaging and priorities. That makes her willingness to publicly describe alleged pressure noteworthy. If a longtime ally is raising concerns about transparency, it suggests a deeper fracture within the party. At the center of this debate is a larger question: is the hesitation around releasing the Epstein files about protecting individuals, avoiding misinformation, or preventing legal complications tied to ongoing investigations? Legal experts caution that the release of sensitive documents can impact ongoing cases and potentially expose victims to renewed trauma. Others argue that excessive secrecy fuels conspiracy theories and erodes public trust. Greene frames the issue as a matter of campaign promises. She contends that many Republicans ran on themes of exposing corruption and confronting powerful elites. From her perspective, backing away from transparency contradicts those commitments. Trump's team, meanwhile, has not formally confirmed Greene's characterization of their private exchange. Political observers note that high-level disagreements inside administrations are not uncommon, especially on sensitive legal matters. What is clear is that the Epstein case continues to exert pressure on political alliances. It is no longer just a question of past associations. It has become a test of credibility. For Republican voters, this situation creates a dilemma. Should they prioritize party unity or demand full transparency, even if it carries political risk? And perhaps most importantly, will Congress ultimately succeed in bringing the full scope of the Epstein-related documents into public view? The answers remain uncertain, but one thing is undeniable: the controversy has moved beyond partisan attack lines and into the realm of internal conflict.
As the controversy over the Epstein files intensifies, the political fallout is spreading well beyond a single phone call or a single petition. What began as a procedural effort in Congress has evolved into a broader debate about accountability, political loyalty, and the limits of transparency in American government. Critics of the administration argue that resistance to releasing the files undermines previous campaign rhetoric. During election cycles, multiple Republican figures emphasized the importance of exposing corruption and dismantling what they described as entrenched power structures in Washington. Public statements from various lawmakers over the years demanded answers about Epstein's connections to influential figures across politics, finance, and media. The issue resonated strongly with grassroots voters, who saw it as symbolic of a two-tier justice system. Now, with Republicans holding greater influence in government, some observers argue that this is the moment to follow through. Yet others caution that the situation is more complicated. The release of investigative files is not simply a political decision. There are legal considerations, privacy concerns for victims, and potential implications for ongoing cases. Government agencies often withhold documents to protect due process. Supporters of Donald Trump argue that accusations of a cover-up are premature and politically motivated. They maintain that Trump has consistently denied any wrongdoing, and that public records show he cut ties with Epstein long before Epstein's criminal conviction. They also point to the broader political environment. In an era of viral headlines and fragmented media ecosystems, partial document releases can quickly turn into misinformation storms. Some argue that controlled disclosure is necessary to prevent reputational damage to individuals who may not be implicated in wrongdoing. On the other hand, transparency advocates counter that withholding information fuels exactly the type of speculation officials claim to want to avoid. When the public senses secrecy, trust declines. Marjorie Taylor Greene's remarks have amplified that tension. By publicly stating that there was pressure to abandon the discharge petition, she has forced the conversation into the open. Importantly, she also acknowledged that many Americans are frustrated not simply by the content of the files, but by the perception that powerful individuals rarely face consequences. This sentiment crosses party lines. Polling over the last several years has shown declining trust in federal institutions. High-profile investigations that end without visible accountability only deepen skepticism. If the Epstein files contain exonerating evidence for certain figures, public release could potentially clear speculation. If they contain damaging revelations, then voters may demand action. Either outcome carries political risk. For Trump, the stakes are particularly high. His political brand has long centered around positioning himself as an outsider willing to challenge elite networks. Allegations, even unproven ones, that he is shielding powerful associates would contradict that narrative. However, his supporters argue that he remains a target of disproportionate scrutiny, and that claims tied to Epstein are part of broader efforts to weaken him politically. The Republican Party now finds itself balancing two imperatives: maintaining unity behind a dominant political figure and responding to a base that demands transparency. History shows that internal fractures can reshape parties in unexpected ways. Disagreements over strategy, messaging, or principle often begin quietly before erupting into public confrontations. Whether Greene's comments signal a temporary disagreement or a deeper divide remains to be seen. For voters, the core issue remains straightforward. Will there be full disclosure? Congress has tools at its disposal. Discharge petitions, committee hearings, and investigative subpoenas are mechanisms designed to ensure oversight, but they require political will. As of now, no final decision has been announced regarding comprehensive release of the Epstein files. Legal analysts suggest that any large-scale disclosure would likely involve redactions to protect victims and unrelated third parties. Until then, speculation will continue. What makes this episode significant is not merely the controversy itself, but what it reveals about modern American politics. Transparency is demanded loudly during campaigns. Governance, however, often involves legal nuance and strategic calculation. The tension between those realities is now on display. In the coming months, voters will be watching closely, not only for what is revealed, but for who stands where. The Epstein case may have originated in criminal courtrooms, but its political aftershocks are still unfolding inside Congress and the broader Republican movement. And as this debate continues, one truth remains. In an era defined by distrust, how leaders handle transparency may shape not only their reputations, but the future direction of their party.